So, long story short, I'm having just an oil service done by somebody else, because by the time, I mean, they quoted me a good price, and by the time I'd done it and got rid of the oil myself and blah 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 blah, there wasn't going to be a lot in it. And so I'm going to show bits and pieces of this. You may get a chance to look at a throttle body issue that I have as well. I'm very glad that I've kind of met this guy and spoken to him, because he's a cool guy. He knows what he's doing. He's got a similar engine to mine. He's just putting out a bit more power. So all that stuff is something that him and his brother can get done. So I'll put a link down below. Here we go. And the sump plug obviously underneath, so it'll be jacked up. I'm going to take it from there, get it nice and hot first. And there's an axle stand underneath. So that's different on the throttle body.
Oh, you had a new caliper.
Wow.
So this is obviously not a new thing. Close to the edge.
Right.
Yeah. So doing another helicoil is going to be quite risky.
Right.
So that's obviously why they've put the sealer, which is all of this here, around it, to stop it from leaking, because obviously I can move that side to side.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just gonna have to clean this up and then reseal it so it doesn't leak for now, and then sort out getting a sump for it.
Getting a sump, yeah. Yeah, okay.
It's just too close to to this edge here to risk helicoiling.
Yeah.
You see, like just on this bit here.
Yeah.
If the sump plug was a little further in, there wouldn't be an issue at all. It's just how close it is. There's literally what, 2 or 3 mil.
Yeah.
On that edge. So, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit too risky.
And you said it had been. It looked like it had been welded before or something.
It looked like it when it had all the
sealer on it. But you don't think it.
But not now. That's actually sealer.
Right.
That's the all round it.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because they've already given all of the stuff to the.
Is it? Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it's around the back ones.
What's it called? You know the Asda petrol station? That's outside my bar.
think I remember seeing as I'd done it. So I've reset the service. And that's been done. So a summary then of the naughty little girl once again. I'm glad I knew actually. mduautomotive.co.uk, thank you very much for that. Basically it was mobile. I could have done it myself, didn't want to really get into it. I'm really glad that I didn't do it, because what we found was that the sump plug had been is it helicoiled or something? It had been re-threaded probably a few times. It was now right on the edge. It had sealer all the way around it. So as he was taking it out, he said he didn't like the feel of it. So he didn't take it out, and he cleaned it up and he sealed it, which is what I showed you. The most basic form of oil change is just having it all sucked out from the dipstick. I didn't want to do that because I just always think of the swarf in the bottom of the sump just coming up or not being gotten rid of. So, you know, ideally a flush and have it come out the bottom. That's what I wanted, so that's what we were going to do. Had I just gone for the dipstick option, I wouldn't have known about the sump plug situation. So basically I'm glad. I mean, I've had the car just almost 2 years, like 1 year 11 months, something like that, and you know, I've just checked, the last service was in August 21, and so that was just over 2 years, so it was a little bit long. I haven't done a lot of miles in that time, but anyway, the idea of taking it out of the dipstick is normally just for the interim services. This needed a proper oil and filter change. Well, it hasn't really got that. The oil is quite clean. We got almost all of it out. The oil is quite clean now, but obviously it's not the same as having the full thing flushed and done. But really and truthfully, I'm in a situation now where I needed a new sump, which means that's, you know, quite a bit of work, because you got to be able to get to it and get it out. And I don't know what's under there, but I'm sure it's like a cross member and this, that and the other. So that's a bit of labor. So that's a job for another day, but I can't hang around, because although that seal could be good for a while, it's, you know, I don't want to. I think it's a job, had I have known about it, I think I certainly would have had it done way before now. So I don't think it's going to be too long before I get it done. And the guy was really good. He said I can just put the oil back in and maybe change the filter, just leave it at that, because if I'm going to be getting the sump done. But I just don't know when that's going to happen. So I just wanted to think, well, at least let's just have the oil. Either way, you got to reseal that thing anyway, whether it's new oil or old oil. But let's just get the best oil, you know, and filter we can in there. Whilst I was at it, I did have a look underneath the air filter to see if anything that got sucked up in there, but it was fine, and the air filter looked clean as well. So so it's just an oil and filter change via the dipstick, because there's a problem with the thread on the sump plug. So mixed feelings. Very happy that I chose the service I did. Very happy that I chose the guys to do it that I did. He's a good guy. He's good communication in terms of letting me know what was going on, and he showed me, and I was able to video that. I forgot to tell him when I booked in that I would like to video a bit, so I asked him before, and he was fine with that. So it's just another day in the life, isn't it, of a X5 owner or a BMW or a car owner, let's face it. And he was gonna look at the problem I've got with the throttle body, but the only ones he had were different to mine. Mine has the EGR going into the side. The ones he had doesn't have that. So he tested, the spring isn't springing it back. I've got to get I've got to get a new second-hand one. I'll probably have a go at fitting that myself. But I can't tell you again, I'm really glad that I didn't do the oil change myself, because I'm just not in a position. I'd be by the side of the road discovering, the whole thing would have fallen apart in my hand, wouldn't have been going back in. I got the car on a yellow line, it's got to be moved in the middle of the day for an hour. It just wouldn't have been a good thing. So that's just how it is. And if I'd taken it somewhere where I could leave it if something went wrong, then it would be quite away from where I am. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things. I went with my instinct. Having the sump plug drained, the service cost was only like an extra, whatever it was, 10 or 20 quid. But so it was the right thing to go for, just for peace of mind. Think, okay, fine, I've got clean oil. There's still a list of jobs to do on this car, but at least it's all right. It wasn't to be. I've got at least the oil in there is 90% new, maybe even more than that, and it's got a new filter, and that was allegedly done just before I got the car. It should have been done again before now. Probably should have been done last year, really, just an oil and filter change. And who knows, it may not have been done before. I think it was. I think that was legit. But the only other thing I could say is that it hasn't used any oil. I mean none. Since I got it. I topped it up when I got it with an additive, and it's used none. So I don't know. I could check the exact miles I've done. I think I'm averaging like 5,000 a year. Should have really changed it last year. Fair enough. Even though it only came up a couple of days ago that it needed or a week ago that it needed changing, I knew I was getting to that time. But normally, for my own peace of mind, I would have done it probably a year ago. But I don't know why. Other things were going on or whatever. So anyway, there it is. I've used Carly to reset it. There is a procedure where you use the trip computer button, holding that down with the ignition on and cycling through the menu options and stuff like that. I did that for the brake pads, but for the service just now, I actually did it with Carly, but Carly said it failed to do it and gave me the manual instructions. But I looked on the dash, and the dash said, yeah, it's done, it's resetting. Next service is in August 2025, so 2 years from now, or 15,000 miles. So weirdly, it's done it, but Carly thinks it hasn't done it. So who knows? Maybe in the next day or two, it might come up. It might not have done it. It might have done it. Anyway, so that's about it. I would like to do so much more with this car, but next step is a little bit of Googling. When I say I'd like to do so much more, what I mean by that is not I would like to more things to be wrong or more things to be found. They need to be found, then fine. But what I mean is there's still issues on here that I would really love to get wrapped up. The dynamic suspension thing, I still don't know what it's like because it hasn't worked since I've had the car. Because there's always something in the way. There was always something that jumps the queue, and now it's a sump. I've got to get the sump done before I do that. So, but even before that is get this throttle body situation sorted, and then the DPF will probably regenerate. So that will be that. Then get the sump done, and then allegedly, maybe I'll just get a proper diagnostics on what is wrong, so I'll get a cost or something. But I don't like the idea of driving around this car knowing that there's sealant on the sump plug because all's not well down there. So yeah, not great. But anyway, there you go. I don't know what else to say. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful. And I guess, yeah, I'll see you in the next one. You can always like and subscribe and comment and stuff if you would like to. If you don't, fine. But I hope you found it of some interest or another. And that you watch this. All right, cheers, bye. There we go. Engine oil level, okay. It hasn't said that for a while. It used to say there was too much in there, and it had a yellow. Now it's green, and it says it's okay. So, feel a lot better, but yeah, sump plug time. Well, sump time for sump plug. A little story, a little bit of, maybe it's karma, but I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. There was, I'm not going to mention any places because things can always go wrong in a garage, you know. Sometimes a garage deserves a poor reputation if that's what it has, but sometimes, you know, you can take isolated situations out of context and say this was a bad time or that was a bad time. And sometimes it's also, if you're having a tough time with a garage or anybody, if you don't stay in communication with them to sort of resolve it, it can make it sound, really bad. I think I had something that happened the other day. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was somebody somebody didn't turn up but for an appointment. I had a feeling they weren't going to, and I could have just at that point just binned them, but I checked out and saw what the problem was, and we sorted it out, and that was fine. So anyway, and this particular garage, who I still have an affinity for, because they are a BMW specialist. They're not a main dealer, they're just a specialist, and I like those guys. So anyway, like the guy that serviced the car today, he's got 3 of them, including one very tuned, same engine more or less as mine, but in a 5 Series. Anyway, but that's not who this problem is. This is going back a long time ago. There was guys, I'd always wanted to take my car there. Anyway, I took it there once or twice. One time I took it there, it was I had a 528 E39, and I brought it back, and in the morning I jumped in it to go and drive it, and it sounded a little bit angry. It didn't sound nice. It sounded like a little bit like it was chewing on some nails or something. Not massively. Most people perhaps might not have, especially if you didn't know the car, you wouldn't maybe have noticed it. But for me, it was like it's that BMW straight six petrol. It's like silk, you know, and it wasn't. And anyway, I thought, let's just back it out of the garage and just take a look and see what, you know, have a look under the bonnet and just have a little sniff around and see if it's just my imagination. As I pulled it out of the garage, I'm looking in the garage, on the floor is a big pool of oil. So I'm like, okay, let's be switching off. And that car, I could just about get my head underneath the cross member. It would scratch. I'd get oil on this side of my, if I put my face to the side, I'd get oil on this side of my cheek, and I'd scratch my face on the stones or whatever of the ground, but I could just get under there and have a look. So for the sump plug, so had a little look, and I think I tightened it about less than a 1/16 of a turn, just sort of like this, just to see what it was like. Just put some pressure on it to see if it was tight, and it went ever so slightly tighter and immediately loose. So I was like, right, okay. I wasn't hanging off of it, you know. I'm not that stupid. So I realized that someone had stripped it, and you don't normally do that without knowing you've done it. So I rang up the garage, spoke to the guy, said, you know, he serviced my car yesterday, whatever, blah blah blah, and I told him what happened. He said, wouldn't have been us. I was like, oh man, why you got to go and say that, you know? So I said, well, it was yesterday, you had it, I'm going to go and clamber under my car and loosen it or whatever. I said, it's dumped oil all over the floor. I've just tried the sump plug and it's rounded. So he said, well, bring it down, we'll take a look at it. I said, well, I can't do that, can I? It's going to have to go down on the back of a truck. And so it went down on the back of a truck at their expense. And because it was about 65-70 miles away from me. And to be fair, they sorted it and never had a problem with it again. But I kind of thought, I don't really feel comfortable about using them again now, because there might be some bad feeling. And the guy who said it wouldn't be us, he wasn't the one. I'm pretty sure he wasn't the guy who'd done it. But it's not the right response. You just think, oh, can't believe it would be us. But how, you know, just look at it logically. How else is it going to be? But somebody knew they'd done it and hadn't said anything, and I just thought, I can't take it there. These guys were preparing people for the Nürburgring, you know, for track days and sort of race cars and stuff like that. And so I sort of lost an ally there, really, over that. And it's just so funny now. This is a lot of years later. I mean, 10, 15 or whatever years later, and I'm a victim of the problem again, but this time the person to blame is long gone. It happened before I had the car. Whether or not the previous owner knew about it on that last oil change, I don't know. But in August of 2021, in fact, I'm just thinking I could get the service book out. I might even put a piece of, in fact, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what? I can't believe it. I thought I was just rambling, but I thought, no, I want to record this. I'm gonna contact the guys who did the last service, and I'm gonna let them know what I've found and what happened. And we'll just see. And I'm gonna let you know, because they might not have been the ones who, they may have found it like that but have repaired it, maybe then under the previous owner's, instruction, which is what's happened now, except for the difference is I'm not about to sell this without telling somebody about that. You know, I can imagine saying to somebody, look, when you do an oil change, just going to give you a heads up now, you're going to have to probably going to have to change the sump. I mean, that's a deal breaker really when you're selling a car, isn't it? But even if I'm saying to him, well, I've had the car X number of months and it hasn't leaked or given a problem, but you know, I mean, I certainly wouldn't. When you got a garage, it's different, but to be committed to doing it yourself, and then have that, and now you've got you can really catch yourself off guard. That's the thing about, you know, working on your only car yourself. Sometimes you can run into a problem that it just drops you right in a hole. If you got the car, if you got a driveway or something, right, you can have it sitting there until you sort it out. But my car has to be rotated during the course of the day, unfortunately, where it lives. So to have it not drivable causes a whole heap of problems. Even when I went to get my car today, there was a couple of neighbours who I think were about to put yet another note on the car for it being parked completely legitimately, but they just don't like people parking outside their house. So but it's a public road, and I was parked within the time frame that I was allowed to. So but I think they were about to have another little moan. But anyway, so the idea of not being able to move my car, it just opens up cans of worms. So you know, I wouldn't want to sort of drop somebody else in it. As it stands right now, I'd have to tell them it's just the way I am. And anyway, it's going to be all over YouTube. Who knows how many people will see it? But I certainly don't want to just pass. Even passing the problem on to the next person would be unsatisfactory. Even if I'm letting them know, I'd still be standing there thinking, I know it's £400 or £500 or whatever, but I still wish I'd done it. I still wish I wasn't telling him this, you know. That's just how I am, and I think how a lot of people are, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'd rather be like that than be some dodgy whatever. But anyway, so that's just made me think that possibly the last owner knew. If it's a main dealer, well, I just don't know. You can imagine him not being told and not knowing, but you can also imagine him making the judgment call, and he may have had legitimate reasons for that, where you think, I'm not in a position to do anything about it right now. Even if I was, we're talking like, what are we going to do with the car? You know, we've got to get the parts, got to book it in for something more than just a quick oil and change it outside my property or whatever. So maybe, you know, that may be the case. Perhaps he forgot, but I don't think so, because I only bought it 1 or 2 months after it was serviced. If he knew, he probably deliberately withheld it from me. If he didn't know, the garage he took it to did know, and they didn't let him know. They didn't want to get involved in it. For me, I'm thinking that he did know. I'm thinking they said to him exactly what I've been told today. We can't, there's not enough room to re-thread it. So really you needed a sump, we can seal it up for now. And he's like, well, I'm selling it anyway, so whatever. And he hasn't told me. I'm not sure if I wanted to know or not. I would have been worried about it, I suppose, but I would have been asking him, well, how much have you driven it since having it sealed, just to get an idea of, is it losing oil, is it going to come away? But anyway, there it is. I didn't expect all of that, but that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to put a community. I'm not necessarily at this stage, I'm just thinking, just to give them a heads up, let them know that I know. It's like, just want to let you know, in the service book says you're the last guys to service it. Got it serviced today. This is what we found. Did you know? Or maybe I won't even say that. I just want to let you know that that's what I found. Whoever serviced this car, give the registration number on this date, did that. So they probably won't, unless it's a main, no one's going to give a damn, but I'd rather just put the communication into their universe. But there we go, things happen. But I do feel a bit better that I've at least got fresh oil and it's at the right level. I've noticed that cars with dipsticks and readers, dash readers, tend to you fill it up to the top of the dipstick, and then the computer will say it's too full. Because mine's been saying it's been too full for ages, but every time I check the oil, it's like bang on the max, or you know. And like I say, it hasn't leaked or used any oil in that time, so I hope it's still the case now. But as I say, I need to get a sump for it. Bam. That's gonna jump the queue. But I still think I'm gonna do the throttle body next, and I'll probably tackle that myself. And now I'm just, you're in my world now, because now I'm just thinking about things and what I'm gonna do and talking out loud. So I'll let you go. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers. Bye.